In this video, we're going to demonstrate how to build a pedestrian bridge for my Lionel Polar Express model railroad. And we're starting right now. Hi, I'm Owen. In these videos, I'm continuing to build, expand, and improve my Lionel Polar Express model railroad in traditional O gauge. Today, we're going to be building a pedestrian bridge, and we're going to be installing it on the model railroad to connect the new Lionel Polar Express passenger station with my Woodland Scenics depot and my Polar Express boarding platform. That's going to require that we put some things in place to hold the bridge, elevate it above the adjoining scenery, and make it look realistic. I'm starting with a bridge that I had put together some time ago and didn't really have a use for. This is what it looks like. It's got a brick paver surface, and underneath it has these two I-beam girders that hold it up. Now, it needs to have a slight crown in the middle so that melted snow and rain would run off it, but it needs to be also somewhat stable so that it doesn't bend too much in the middle. So I put these cross members in between the I-beams, and I'm going to have to paint them. Now, this bridge was actually part of a much larger structure. I cut off the end in order to shorten it up so that it would fit the area that I'm going to be putting it in. To make it a clean cut, I used this hacksaw with a fine blade so that it would cut nice and smooth through and leave very little damage on the end of the bridge that had to be sanded off. Now that I've got it at this stage, I need to paint the cross members, paint the undersurface of the bridge, and then we'll be able to put it in place. Eventually, I'm going to also have to put safety railings down the sides of this bridge and stairways leading up to the bridge from the station level and the depot level. To support the bridge, I created two bridge abutments out of XPS foam and glued them in place using Woodland Scenic foam tack glue. Now that they've cured and are firmly attached to the surface, I need to get on with painting them and making them appear realistic. That's going to take several steps, and I'm going to be starting that next. The stairway I'm using is an O-scale styrene plastic staircase. It'll need to be painted before I put it in place. For safety on either side of it, I've created these two barriers of basswood. That will be glued to the sides of the stairway once it's in place, and that will provide safety railings on the side of it. These will be painted. These will have to be painted as I go along, and the stairway itself has to be painted. There'll be one stairway going up from the passenger station, one stairway going up and down from the depot station. I used Testors steel metallic paint to paint the girders on the sides of the pedestrian bridge. I'll also use this to paint the cross members and the stairways. So that will take a few minutes, and we'll be back after we get that done. The bridge abutments have been painted with 2 coats of white paint, and then I drew lines on them to mark the edges of what would be stone blocks that they're built out of, and used a gel pen to do that. I've got to do a bit more shading around the edges of those to simulate the shadows and the rough surface of the stone that was used to create these abutments, and I've got to do the other abutment yet. That will include drawing the borders and the grout lines between the stone blocks, and then coloring and shading the stones as well. And that will move that to the next stage of completion. As to the bridge itself, I've finished painting the cross members with the steel metallic paint, and I've also painted the entire underside a flat black so that it will blend in well. I've got to figure out a way to put some lights on this as well. both that will light the surface for pedestrians and that will light the underside so that it'll shine down on the roadway and not create a shadow. I'll be doing that as we go forward. Finishing up the pedestrian bridge is turning out to be a long project. I've got a number of steps completed already, and you can see at the top I've got 2 street lights across the pedestrian bridge that will light the way. I've got also some floodlights on the underside of the bridge to light the track and the platform and the street that's under the bridge. Those will look great once I get them connected. The wires are still hanging down here waiting to be fished under the table and then connected up to the Just Plug lighting system. I've got the landscaping around the line, streetcar line, trolley line, ready to be painted, but I haven't painted it yet. That's going to take a little bit of time to get that done, and then also to use some of the brick paver sheets in order to make a realistic looking platform along the trolley line. The stair, you can see, one of the stairs is in position as it comes down from the pedestrian bridge to the passenger station. The sides have got to be glued onto that yet, the safety sides to keep people from falling off, and the other bridge is laying on, other stairs laying on top of the bridge. That will have to go down to a landing with another section of stairs going the rest of the way down. I haven't 100% figured out how I'm going to do that yet, so I'm going to take a little bit more time and think about that more thoroughly to arrive at the right solution for that. Those wires that are for the 4 lights that are part of the pedestrian bridge, the 2 street lights on the top and then the 2 floodlights underneath, I will put in a conduit and run down the back side of that bridge abutment so that they're hidden from view, and then drill a hole, fish them through the table and connect them up to the Just Plug lighting system. So I've made good progress, but there's more work to be done, and I don't want to hold up getting this update out to you while I continue to finish that up. You can see where I have used the foam putty and flex paste around the passenger station to fill in, so that's now in pretty good shape. Just waiting to be painted. I want to do a little bit more painting on those bridge abutments as well, the piers that the pedestrian bridge is sitting on, so that they look more realistic. And then ultimately I'll glue the pedestrian bridge down, and also those street lights that are now there are not yet glued in place, so I'll glue them as well before I finish that up. So we've made a lot of progress, but it's not quite finished yet. Another difficulty that I've encountered is shown here on the skating pond. The figures that I got from Lionel just do not stand up right. There's only one out of the group that will stand up properly, and I need to figure out some bracing to make them stand up, give them the balance they need to stand up, but at the same time don't look too obvious. I've added that little sawhorse there to put a block for traffic to come across to the skating pond, and we've got a couple of more little additions to the layout, some traffic cones, things like that, that are kind of minor, but those will be worked on, and those will be incorporated in as we go along. The whole layout continues to, I think, improve, and as I get this painting done, that's going to really make a huge difference in that, now that I've got the foam putty in place and the flex paste in place to make it solid so I can paint over it. Once I've got that all painted, I'll be able to come back and drizzle soft flake snow over it as well, and that will just add to this realism as we go along. So that's the update for today. We've made a lot of progress, got more work to do as always, but I think that pedestrian bridge is going to look great with those those street lights on the top and the floodlights underneath. a little bit more painting on those piers to make it look more realistic, and put the safety rails, guardrails on the bridge itself as well as on the stairs leading up to it. So that's the update. First, before I wrap up, I just want to encourage you all, if you haven't done so already, please click to subscribe and subscribe to this channel. I appreciate everybody who subscribes. Your support means the world. If you are also be kind enough to click the thumbs up and like this video, that would be great. And share it on social media or with anyone else you know that may be interested in modeling. Thanks for watching.